Greetings, lords and ladies. I wanted to give my first impressions, as well as a basic review of Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer. I spent the better part of my gaming time on the weekend playing Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer, and I keep on finding myself tempted by a slip of the tongue to slip into Mass Effect because we are so used to it. And I want to break it down into sections, three sections. Description, for those of you who don't know about it, I'm assuming many of you don't yet. The good and the bad. Now, it took me a while to get to this. I didn't start playing until, I believe, Saturday it was. And spent a lot of time with single player. I'm kind of burnt out on single player. Doesn't really hold much interest for me anymore, and so I've gravitated now to multiplayer. So description. If you're expecting that Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer is a sort of reboot or a repeat of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, then you will be disappointed. It is not that. It is a dungeon crawl. The way abilities work, the skill set, promotion, everything works differently from what you might expect in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Of course, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is a shooter. It is wave-based. Dragon Age Inquisition is a dungeon crawl. At the moment, there are 3 maps in total. Elven Ruins, Tevinter Ruins, and a chateau, much similar to the Dales in single player. And 3 different enemies, demons, Red Templars, and Tevinter Scum. And that's random. The maps aren't random, the enemies are. It's still in the initial stages. Hopefully they'll add new enemies, new maps. We don't know yet, but that's what it is right now. And there are 5 zones. Each zone gets progressively more difficult. There are certain tasks, for example, protecting an emissary, recovering scrolls, or weapon caches, or what have you. There are 5 zones, as I said, and then the final 5th zone is sort of almost like Mass Effect 3 in the sense it's this sort of all-out wave combat. And you have to defeat an enemy commander, either a demon enemy commander, a Templar one, or a Venatori one. And you get near endless waves. Even after you defeat the commander, there are repeated waves. And once you finish that, you finish the mission, 5 zones in total. You will get experience as well as gold, as distinguished from platinum. Platinum would be the currency you would have to buy with real-world money to buy stuff. In theory, not just in theory, you can get everything via in-game accrued gold. So that's how the game is set up. You have 12 classes in total. The 3 archetypes, of course, mages, warriors, and rogues, and 4 subclasses or specializations, depending on how you want to term it, subsumed under those 3 categories. The abilities are very flexible. Of course, there are dependencies, much as in single player. That is to say, before you can get something like the grappling chain, you need to first invest in abilities prior to that. But apart from that, apart from the obvious restrictions that are present in single player as well, there's a lot of flexibility in building or build creation. This is going to require more experience on my part to get an idea of what's best and what's not. Some people have already been enthusiastically playing for 5 weeks now, I believe. And there is a guy, Penguin Fetish, who's already put out some pretty decent guides. But it's the build. The builds are very interesting. The ability to mix and match is quite nice. And yeah, it's well done in that regard. And moving on, since I've described things, for, of course, party of 4, you don't have to do 4, but yeah, that's describe things. I like it a lot. We'll get to the bad stuff later. I really enjoy the ability to try different builds. I like the different classes. Some of them are pretty innovative. Some are really fun. They offer possibilities because of the combinations of their specific abilities that aren't present in single player. One example, which I haven't even gotten to yet because I haven't gotten that spec yet, or rather that ability, is combining for the Alchemist, which is a Dwarven rogue, the ability to combine Flask of Fire, unlimited, with elemental mines. That is to say, unlimited elemental mines, just non-stop. So there are some pretty cool combinations you can do. And that allows for a lot of flexibility. And as I just started 2 days ago, basically, I'm still a beginner, although I've gotten, for my for my ranking, I guess, pretty good. I'm able to carry people to some degree already. The game allows for a lot of fun, if only because of the different possibilities. And the crafting system is enjoyable, although it's quite different from single player. It's not the same. It'd be difficult to simply explain how it's done. Unlocking characters is done not by cards, as it was in Mass Effect 3, but crafting specific armor and or finding it via gold chests. But usually you have to craft the specific armor and then you unlock the character, and then there are progressive upgrades up to a point at least for the armor of characters, improving the armor. Armor stats don't go nearly as high as in single player, but there are progressive, mostly affects appearance, but there is some progression there as well. Some differences in crafting. Crafting stuff is permanent. That is, if you put superior Vanguard armor on a piece of armor, then that's permanent. You will have to sit with that, and you're stuck with that. Luckily, you can probably get something better in the future, but runes, obviously, runes are permanent fixtures and weapons. And but it's fun. The crafting is fun. The way it works, essentially, though, is that you're going to end up getting a lot of things you may or may not need, and you salvage it, and different things give you different items. For example, staves usually give you some kind of cloth, silk brocade, high ever weave, etc. One-handed weapons as well as two-handed weapons give you, minerals, drakestone, iron, everite, onyx, etc. And of course, rogue items give you leather, different varieties of leather, bows, and daggers. Now, it's just a lot of fun. If you're someone who likes experimenting with builds, different abilities, and found that was kind of lacking in single player because of certain limitations, I'd argue that multiplayer offers more flexibility in this regard, because the abilities that all 12 classes to date, there might be more in the future, have, are distributed a lot differently, and because of that, there is a lot more flexibility. And if you get tired of one class, you can always play another, and in that sense, it's different, because in single player, if you choose a mage, that's what you're stuck with for the entire campaign. That's not the case in multiplayer, and that allows for a lot of fun. It's a really fun setup. I expect myself to continue playing for some time to come. The reasons I will list soon in the bad points, perhaps. Will there be guides? I don't know. The market seems to be already well cornered by Penguin Fetish. Props to him. Although he did make a profound grammatical error in one of his guides, but never mind that. We'll see as time goes by. This is one thing to bear in mind based on my impressions of the game. One thing, to me at least, is clear, is that, yes, there are quote-unquote optimal builds for decimation, but there are things that are fun as well. I became acquainted with someone yesterday. I was playing, and we were talking, and I've been playing, the only mage I've been playing extensively is the Necromancer, which is usually regarded as subpar compared to the others because there's no barrier, etc. But I still did pretty well, and it was a lot of fun. Created this sort of Frost Maiden build, which I've just promoted now. We'll get a promotion in a bit. Anyway, the bad points. RNG gods. Well, if you didn't like random number generation in Mass Effect 3, you will like random number generation in Dragon Age Inquisition even less. Why is this? Well, reasons are simple. the game itself, gameplay, abilities, every ability, not apart from passives, of course, every active ability that causes damage is directly tied into your weapon and weapon damage, similar to single player. You've seen single player descriptions. Winter's Hand, blah 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 percentage of weapon-based weapon damage. Okay. In single player, you are guaranteed to progressively get better weapons, etc. It's not the case with multiplayer. Multiplayer, your damage is dependent on your weapons for your abilities, your gear, and you have no guarantee of getting better stuff because it's all RNG. Not only that, gear is the defining factor in this game. That is to say, you will not ever be effective. You can be mildly effective, but you can't be truly effective without good to exceptionally good gear. I happened to luck out at the beginning. I got some really good items for sword and shield characters. That would be the Templar and the Dwarven Legionnaire. And having these items allowed me to use these characters to great extent. And I got some decent items for others. But on the other hand, for rogues, I have no good daggers and no good bows. So I've messed around with the alchemist, but I can't really do a whole lot because my gear is just subpar. Whereas I have a pretty good two-handed weapon, and I have one of the best long swords and one of the best shields as well. So and one of the best staves, or pretty good staff. So everything is gear dependent. It's all RNG. There's no guarantee you're going to get anything. I mean, second day playing, I got a sword called Caliban. This is this long sword, and it's generally regarded as one of the top 2, top 3 weapons. If there's no best, it's one of the best. How did I get it? I just lucked out. And so when you're planning builds, obviously you have to plan them independent of weapons, because a build is the essence of a build is not going to be completely based on your weapon, because you're using abilities to do certain things, but the effects of those abilities will be dependent on your weapons. If you're a fan of Shield Bash like I am, and I'm trying something else out for the moment, but that's going to be dependent on your weapon damage. If you like Immolate, that's going to be dependent on your weapon damage, and you may or may not have a good staff for that, and you may not have a good one-handed weapon for Shield Bash, etc. The way around this, there is no way around this. It's really, really grindy, potentially. You could supremely luck out, have even more luck than I have had, and get just amazing weapons and amazing gear. There are rings as well. I've gotten one decent ring of enhanced armor penetration, and a decent amulet as well. But by and large, you are subject to the RNG gods far more than in multiplayer Mass Effect, because those were just tiered, and there weren't as many. So, you got a Hurricane in 4, and then you couldn't wait till you got the Hurricane 5, and so on and so forth. And you worked within your limitations. But if you want to be effective in the party, it's really difficult. Not that this is a competition, it's not a PvP game. It's really difficult to be effective without good gear. And the difficulty levels are such, I should have mentioned that in the beginning, excuse me. You have routine, you have, at the lowest end, you have threatening in the middle, which is kind of like gold, and then perilous is kind of like platinum. I I haven't actually beaten perilous yet, for a number of reasons. The bugs, right? The bugs. There's one bug on PC and I think the other platforms as well, that prevents you from progressing. And I got this many, many times. Basically, every time you finish a zone, there's a key that's dropped, and then you unlock a door, and then you proceed forward, etc. Sometimes the key doesn't drop, and you're stuck there, and the only thing you can really do is just leave the game if you don't want to wait, I don't know, half an hour until the game kicks you or something. It's really annoying. All in all, on the negative side, Dragon Age multiplayer feels very much like a beta. In fact, it's kind of, to my mind, it's a beta. It's fun. It's gobbles of fun, but very unpolished in a lot of ways. And the bugs indicate that. Apparently, I've only been playing for 2 days. There are also abilities that don't work properly, etc., and items that don't work properly. So it's difficult to say really, uh, as far as the negatives are concerned. If you don't want to play something unpolished, if you don't want to play something that's buggy, if you don't want to play something that's dominated by random number generation, and completely leaves you at its mercy, much more so than Mass Effect ever did. Remember, the difference is, in Mass Effect 3, you could have only had a Predator pistol, but your abilities, your powers, if you were a maxed out level 20 character, were independent of that, and so you still could kick ass. Of course, some characters, like the Turian soldier, were weapon dependent, as well as others. But if you were an Asari, you were all biotics. You could, people did this all the time, right? They took the I forgot the name of that cheesy Asari gun, and they just bioticed everything. You can't do this in this game. If you don't have good gear, that is good weapons, you cannot kill things. Period. And so, the question is, do you want to play this kind of game? For me, it's a lot of fun. I'm not suffering from gambler syndrome in the sense that, I had some pretty good luck on the weekend and I will continue to. That's not how RNG works. But I still want to play, and who knows, maybe guides will be out, maybe not. I'm not sure if there's a real market for it, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it, and it's a nice change of pace from single player. It's a lot more flexible. One thing that could be counted before I finish as possibly both negative and positive is a promotion system. In Mass Effect 3, there were multiplayer, there were respec cards, or you could promote. By promoting, you got a higher N7 rank, if I recall, but it had no real effect on gameplay whatsoever, and so I almost never promoted. Promoting to me was just painful, and I never bothered doing it. Not so in Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer. Promoting actually has an end and a purpose, in the sense that one, the only way to promote to respec a character is to promote from level 20 to level 1. That's how it works. More importantly, though, promoting a character has potential long-term effects on your gameplay. Every time you promote a warrior character from level 20 to level 1 in order to respec, every character you have, not just warriors, gets a +1 constitution. Every time you promote a mage character from level 20 to level 1, every character, not just mages, gets a +1 willpower. What does that mean? Better magic defense, better attack for everyone. Every time you promote a rogue, +1 cunning, higher critical chance, etc. So there are actually benefits to promoting. Not promoting seems kind of foolish. I mean, for a while you could not do it if you want to play Perilous for a while and crunch gold or grind gold or what have you. That's an idea, but long-term strategy, you will be improving all your characters, and not just in theory, but in practice. More time you promote more health, better defense, better attack, higher crit chance, and these are things that are beneficial to everyone: warriors, mages, and rogues. So personally, I think it'd be nice if they included something like respec potions that you could buy, spend gold on, but it remains to be seen if they're going to implement that. Now, I didn't want to make this too long. Overall, I'm enjoying it. Would I recommend it to you? With hesitation. If you're not willing to deal with the bugs and the rather punishing RNG system, then it's probably not a multiplayer for you. I, however, will continue playing it. If you have been playing it or decide to, let me know. I do have some room on my Origin, and I might consider adding you depending on how much room I have left. So anyway, thanks for watching. That's my review, my first impressions, and I hope it was helpful for people who don't know about the game yet. Everyone, as always, take care. Bye-bye.